refresh sunset.
Okay, so so I was giving all the step before. So click on what? Right card now. So you came at the right. You came at the right time. Just go with us. All right. So so this is the PHP my admin that I'm talking about. This is the PHP my admin. Now let me log into my website now, back end, so that you will tell me the difference between this and that one, because that is how you are supposed to what? To access the website. So you are going to write down your step now, because this is how they give it to you. They will tell you, go to our website. These are the login details. Get our data, so that you know how to, because this one now is a local Xampp server. But I want to teach us with, I want to show how it works with the website direct, because that is how you are supposed to work. If they insist that you must analyze right in the words, the website, don't take the data out. So write the step as how to access data in a live website. How to access data in a live website. How to access data in a live website. In a live website. Step number 1, open the browser. Not be that. First step should not be that. First step should not be that. The first step is what? Get the website address from them and the login details. So any company that is asking you to analyze data from their website, they are ready to do release their login details. Where they don't trust you, maybe you are not an you are not a full-time staff, they don't trust you, they will tell their webmaster to export the data for you. Then you now copy it to what? Flash drive. Now I'm going to the website URL. This is how you are going to enter the website. The website URL is what? digitec.com.ng.cpanel. Look at this, what you have to copy. If they give you the website address as okoro.com, let's say www.okoro.com, you will add slash, you add this cpanel to it. This is how we enter website backend. You add slash. So the login details that they are going to give to you, you will see where to ask you for them now. Any website address, just type that full website address slash cpanel. You are not going to the front end, you are going to the back end once you add that slash. So if I click here now, it will redirect me here. You see what will happen now. It will bring me here. Now the website, the company that is asking you to go to their website, part of what they are going to give you, after giving you the address, what did I say they will give you again? The login detail. Part of the login detail is what? Username and what? The password. So once the web developer is done with the developing and hosting, we will give them, we will send through an email, send them what? The username and what? The password. So now in this case now, I think I have already saved my own here. I pray I should get it here now. Allah there. So since I have not saved it here, I will get it from my accounts. Don't worry, I will get it from there. Let's see. The hosting company that I use, I will get it from there. I'll follow there now to enter. So normally that interface we are saying, you enter, so your next step, since we are writing the step, your next step, enter the words username, and the back end password. After that, to now take you to where I am going now. Okay, so I think still load up was still loading before. Now look at this. Once I click on, though we are not supposed to pass through this place because I don't have my password offhand, but I've saved it here. I can connect to it. So if you are given the password, you enter the username, enter the password where I'm connecting to through this my account now. So here I've already saved my password here, so I can just click on login. That will just take me in. Okay, so this is my account. Quickly. Just give me some time. Okay, so let's continue with the local one. I think just renew it now, so before it will come up to take some time. Okay, let me see if Okay, so let's continue here. I'll show us once it's ready. Actually, it's the same experience that we have here. I just want to show us that version so that you know that there's nothing different between them. Okay, so here we have been able to access our back end MySQL. This is what we call the back end, or the PHP what MyAdmin. So from this PHP MyAdmin, we will now start by creating database. Remember, I taught you how to create database with what? Workbench, right? Before we learned how to create what? Table. Before we started what? Before we now imported what? Record inside the table. Then after that, we now started what? Writing SQL query statements to manipulate the records in the table. So that same way, so we are going to look at how do I create database here, because the methods are not the same, though they are related somehow. Here, the whole of this still remain your schema. These are the item that my SQL server gave to us under administration. Remember, we have to switch from admin to schema there before we can access our database. We're trying to relate them. So but here now, both the admin and everything here is in one place. We are not switching from schema to what? Administration. So all you need here is just to click on what? New. So if you want to still write the step, fine. But if you observe, it's almost the same step. So once you click on new, it will bring out a text box where you are to write your database name. So let's assume that your database name is Peter. Your database name is Peter. Then you click on what? Create. We can also use SQL to create this database. Remember the process. If I want to use SQL direct, then I will have come here and go to what? SQL. So from SQL here, it will now give me what? This is just like that framework, that query interface you have in Workbench. So from here, I can use that same syntax. What was the syntax again? Create what? Create what? Database. Create database. Then use what? Remember what I told you about this inverted or special what? Quotation. You can use the other one. Then what are we to put inside here? It's just like I'm taking us all over again so that you can get familiar with this version. What are we putting here? The name of what? The database. Let's say what? Prosper 2. I don't know if I have such a name. Then of course you do what? You execute it by pressing what? Here we don't have those two icons that can enable us to execute only the line of code or all. That is not here. So you just have to know the shortcut, which is the same thing there. Control plus what? Enter. So if I press Control plus enter, and then there is an error here. What is the error here? You have an error in your what? Create what? What did I type there? So now I have to go and edit it. That well, I thought I picked it from the drop down. Okay. So let me run it again. Successfully what? Created. Where can you now see it now? Look at it. It's added here now automatically. If I don't want to go through that process, I will click on what? New. We also have this same alternative method in Workbench. I show us the button method. If you don't want to go through creating it with query statement. So I can come here now. Then I'll say, okay, let's say class might be a keyword. Let me use data, let's say TA1. And then I will just click on what? Create. Is also what? Added here. Now, after we created database, then the next thing we did was to create table, because I told you that in SQL records are not stored directly inside what? Database.
Instead, they are stored where? In a table. And the table is made up of what? Attributes and what? Rows, the headers and the records. So now, before you create table here, you have to select. We use a kind of query statement. Use maybe DA1 there in what? Workbench. Here, I can just select it. You can go to that same SQL and go and use that same code to work. Or you can simply just click on the database you want to create the record inside. Let's say this. Once I have selected it, it will ask me for what? The table name. The table right now is updating me that this database that you selected has no what? Table inside it. So what is your table name? So my table name can be any name based on the kind of record I want to collect with it. I can say, okay, maybe this is sales. I'm going to use this table to collect what? Sales data. If you are using two names, please, there must be what? Underscore. SQL is not friendly with what? Working with space. I told you before. So now let's say what? This says, just says. Now, how many columns? How many columns? How many heading? How many heading? Let's assume that I just need a table that will collect the serial number, which is the ID, the customer's name, the products, the quantity, and total. Let's just assume that. So how many columns do we have with that statement? Four of them, right? Five. So I can just increase it here and then click on what? Create. The moment you want to create, it will take you to your table structure definition. Table structure definition is in integer. We're choosing integer, variable character, length, font size, what's it called? Is it length size? Remember, even when we are doing it there, we were asked to specify the type of data that will be posted to that column. So the same thing now, and you have to do that under table structure. So the first one is always what? ID, meaning the one that we what? Tabulate what? The numbers of what? Record. Then the data type should be what? Integer. You know, we have something like this over there, but they were in boxes horizontally. Good. Now the length, pay attention here. The length. What will be the size of whatever will be posted to what? To the heading. Here I can put this one 11, meaning that by default, the table is going to come with what? 11 rows. Then after the table have received the first 11 records, then it should be increasing automatically. Remember, we click on what? Auto what? Increment. It was AI there in Workbench. So I will now come here. You are not touching anything under what? Default. You are not also touching anything under what? Collation. You are not touching anything under what? Under attributes, you select assign. Assign means what? I am going to assign my heading by myself. You should know what? Bother what? Creating your column label. That is the meaning. And you have to specify this only on the first row, which you name what? ID. You don't come here and say assign again. Anything you are doing at this level is applicable to what? All. But if I remove it from here, for example now, and I come here and say assign, it means that this will only affect the heading that is what? Traced to. But if I am applying it on the first row, then it's applicable to what? All. Now I'll scroll again. Under null, what does that mean? Not. This null means that every column must have what? Information. You cannot leave any column what? Empty, or any cell empty. So if you mandate it like this by clicking here, what? You have made it compulsory that what? Every column must receive what? Data. Because the idea is this. Look up. The idea is this. in our website is form that will be submitting those things here. They will fill form there. They will now select what? Submit. So it is the form at the front end that will bring what? The data here. But because this is no website, we are going to manually create the record here, just like what we did here. Then I will now take us to how you can import the way we imported data before we can start analysis. I just want us to have this background. This is just like I'm starting again, but with different what? SQL what? Application. Because that one is Workbench. This one is using what? PHP what? My what? Admin what? SQL interface. So now this AI represents what? Auto what? Increments. Remember that we specify 11 here, meaning that once we create this table, it will come with what? 11 what? Empty rows. One will be for the headers. So we now have how many empty rows there? 10. Now, if the first person fill the form and submits here, it will now remain how many space? 10. No, it will remain 9. Another person will fill the form again and submit. It will now remain what? Now, once the 10 person fill or the 11 person fill, now ordinarily, if you don't click on this auto increment, that means what? That form will no longer submit data here. Instead, it will complain that what? The table I am submitting the content to is already what? Filled up. So how do you program the table to be increasing the rows automatically? That is when you do what? You click on this. Now, I omitted one here, though it has already selected what is required, which is what? Primary key. We wrote primary key there the other time, or there was an option in Workbench where we selected what? Primary key. And what did I told us about primary key? I told you that primary key is a unique identity that database uses to differentiate table records in what? Tables. For example now, for one table to be differentiated from another table in the same database, they must have what? Unique what? Identity. It is called what? The primary key. So it's already what? Activated. If you click here, you see other option. So if I am going to have unique value, which column do you think I can have unique value? Good. For example, now maybe I have names of people, and those names are not permitted to be what? Repeated. So I will lock that column by giving what? Unique instead of what? Primary. Primary will be assigning the identity by itself. But unique means just like you have already what? Limited that what? None of such record to be what? Repeated. So I just want us to know why we are selecting it. Then after that, I will go to other header. So we are collecting what? Customer what? Name. Customer name data type is variable what? Character. Ticker. We are collecting products they purchase from us. Product name is also what? Variable what? Character. Then the quantity, how many of them they are buying, that is what? Number. I can also use what? Variable character to be on the saver side. Variable character means what? You can accept what? Any type of what? Data. I have explained that before. If I go and put number, it means that what? I have restricted them from what? Putting any other type of what? Data outside what? Number. Then here, rate. Or let's say rate. Rate is what? Rate. You can use double. Any value that we have, maybe 1,000 points that we have decimal, you use what? Double. Or to be on the saver side, just assign what? Variable character. Now you now come to length. This one is already taking 11. This one you can put 100. I told you what? The highest is what? 255. You can decide to use the entire space. Where you have issue is that if the person's name, for example now, the product name, computer, how long will what is the size of that name that will be posted here? If I put 7, and then if somebody is trying to send a product name that exceeds 27 characters, then it will accept to take 7 and throw away what? The rest. So that's why I said it is better for you to have excess what? Space than for you to lock yourself up. As a data analyst, you may not need this entire process. I told you before. It is not your responsibility to create what? Database, to create what? Table. Because the data you will be asked to analyze will have been submitted before you get there. And if it will have been submitted, that means what? The web developer must have created what? Database and will have connected the form to what? A table here. What about if your employment is not based on data analysis? Precious, have you disconnected? If it's not based on data analysis, if it is based on just to manage database, just because you have an idea of this from your data analysis what? Class, and it now happen to be a company that does not have what? Database, that is where you need all this I'm showing you. For most of your work, it's not going to involve what? All this process. The record will have been what? Created. You only just to get there, exploit it to any other tool, or you analyze it directly from there. Okay, so now here, let me say assign what? 100. If there is date here while you are creating it, supposing there is date, you don't assign, here will be dates, but here no size. Okay, now let's assume that you are not touching anything. That attribute will only be for the first row. That auto increment only for the first row, because as you apply it there, it affects what? Everything. So in other words, in other column, you stop at what? Length stroke what? Value size. Then after that, you click on what? Save. The moment you click on save, SQL will now write what? Query what? Statement. The manual one that you will have written if you don't want to follow what? This tab method. So I click on save. So if everything is okay, I'm going to know. If something is wrong, success. I'm also going to know from the message it's going to output now. So what is going on right now is that the SQL is trying to what? Go, it has created it. You can see it. So this is what you will have written by yourself. Now this is the table, says, and it's under this. Remember, I have taught us SQL query statement for displaying the list of what? Tables in what? In what? If I want to know the numbers of table in this database called Prosper what? 2, and I don't want to come here to expand it, let's say it's collapsed like this. I get to the website. I don't have idea of the table, the records that are there that I want to analyze. What did I advise you that you should do first? Write an SQL query statement that lists out what? Now, I will click on the database name, or just go to SQL and write that statement. Now, let's say I've collapsed here now. and I want to know the list of what? Table in that database. What is the query statement? Show, what am I confirming now? SQL is SQL, irrespective of what? Any platform you are speaking it. Whether it's on Workbench or is on what? PHP admin, the same keyword I'm using. Now show what? Table. Show tables. They're the same thing. You end what? With your semicolon. How do you execute now? Control Enter. What did you see? Table in what? Prosper 2. Is it not how Workbench gave it to us? Now I want to write an SQL statement that will display the numbers of records inside this table. Have you noticed something? You can see that what? I can no longer access the previous. That is the reason why Workbench is designed for data what? Analysis, because of these inconveniences. Because with Workbench you can compile all your code and execute them when you want. But here, once you have written one line, for you to write another one, you have to what? Disengage the other one. You are shaking your head. Because this is not actually designed for what? Data what? Analytics. This is web-based. Now, who is going to give out the query statement? I want to see the record in that sys that we just find out that is inside the Prosper 2 database. Give me the syntax. Speak out, sir. Where are those people that are going to defend with SQL? You can use this one, can give us graph. This one I can show my work with what? Graph. But the other one I cannot show with what? Graph. So you see the advantage now. So select is what? Is a keyword. Then because I am selecting all record, not just some, what will I do? So this is just like the visual class now. This is double lecture now. So those that did not get it before, get it now. Select from is another keyword. From, we just find out the name of. How will you have known the name of the table if you have not run what? So you see the reason why you have to do that. Because we are writing this now, you need the name of what? The table. So says, and then you do what? Then I run. Look at it. Only the headers. No record. No record. No records. Now, how do I now insert record? Manually. Which we did over there. How do I insert record? Now that you are here in this table, go to what? This. Select what? Insert. That will give us what? Form. So this is just like the form a developer will have created at the front end. But if you don't have at the front end, then you do what? You ask for the form here inside. Now here, on the form here, I have for integer. Integer is what? The number, right? That is what? Number 1. Record. You created how many space? 11 rows. Then this is the name, Prosper. After this now, we'll now go to how to import the table here. We don't need all this one. I just want to have the experience. Now here, what we have here, this is a product name, right? Product name, let's say mouse. Then what we have here, I think it's quantity, right? Quantity. How many of them? Let's say this. So what do we have here? Rate, how much? I deliberately left what? Total, because I taught us in the last class that you can write an SQL query statement to generate what? Total, and multiply what you have in quantity by what? Rates, to get the column for what? Total. We did that, right? Now, once you have done this, you have two forms here. So you have filled the first one, you can now fill the second one. The second one is 2. The third one is another person's name. Let's say what? Eloho. So each time you click on that insert, you have access to 2 forms to submit 2 records. Now here, what is the product name, right? Let's say keyboard. Let's say keyboard. The quantity, let's say 20. The rates, pay attention please. Now, supposing I want to add lookup, I want to add another form outside the 2 that came as default. I want to add additional what? Form, in order to submit like 10 records at once instead of the 2. What will I do? I have what? Insert what? As new. And that new that you are inserting, where is it coming? Is it another one? Look at this here. Continue what? Insertion with what? 2 or 3, you add it. So if I click this now, and I click OK, let's say I change here to 3, and I click OK, it will add additional what? 3 what? Form under it. So I will now enter what? 3 more records. But for now, I'm going to submit what? These 2. So once I'm done with that, I click on what? Go. So the 2 records. So this is what you will have composed manually. So you will have said what? Insert into. You call the what? The table name. You declare all the header. Then you call value outside it. Then the value, if they are what? String. If I'm doing it manually, I am not going to quote those numbers. All this I'm not going to quote it. Because that is the rule now from Python. When you are storing number in a variable, do you quote it? Because we use application, that is why they are quoted. Now I want to check. Let's go and write that what? Query statement again. That outputted empty column without record. Now that we have added record, so to know whether we are going to see what? These 2 records that we have created. So I'll go back to what? This. And then I'll select what? SQL. Then delete this. Okay, I can use this. I will just delete what? This. This is what I want, right? And re-execute it. Check now. Initially, when we ran this, what do we have? No record. Now we have what? 2 records. So, let's assume that after I've created the table with how many heading? Serial number, that is ID, right? Name, product name, and what? Rate. They now ask me to add states, as in there should be column for states. After I've created everything, I've added record, that I should what? Add what? Not another table, this same table. You should what? Add another column for collecting another set of data. What do? That is structure. So you come back to this and then go to what? Structure. So from structure, it will call back. Remember when we were creating, we passed through this place. It will call back this. Then you now come here, add 1. After where? Where is that 1 that you are adding? Where is it coming? It's coming after what? The last column, which is what? Rate, right? Hello. It's coming after rate. So add 1. Then I will just click on what? Go. It will call back this stage. Remember we were at this stage before, to bring out only the row. Now, those things that you specify in that first row, which is what is it called? Auto increments. Those things are still applicable to this, so you don't need to consider them here. Don't come here and say you want to change this in left back, what is it called? Integer. Just go straight to what? To define the value. Let's say what? 100. That is the only thing. You are not defining, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Here we bring in the name, which is what? State. you bring in the name states. What I'm saying is that when you get to this here, you don't come here and say what? Unsigned. We have done that. This is the continuation of that table. And you must not do it twice. You must not come here and say you want to do what? Auto increment again. The only thing you will do here is just what? Submit the what? Good. You change this 3, 1, 2, 3 to what? Variable character. And then click on what? Save. It will now show you the updated one. This is what? SQL keyword alter table. That is the code you will have written manually. Alter table. But for those that are doing web dev, we will write all this. The reason why I'm skipping that because it's not your work as data analyst. But for web dev, it's your work. You should know how to write all these query statements. I'm not going to be using button like this to be doing this. I will go to that query statement that will construct this statement. So where we are confused, we can come here and what? Run it like this, and copy the syntax, then go there and what? Practice it by ourselves. Now come here, now it's updated. Can you see it now? It's now added. Now if I go back to my, let me go and run whether there will be a record under it. I'll go back to what? To my SQL and do what? Select, remove this, and then this. No what? Record under that column, but the column is there. So this is going to be the first part of it. I just want to get water. Once I come back, I will now show us how to import what? Our data into this. And let me check whether the website is even ready now. Where was that entry before that? Please help me get water. That's it, please.